Hi everyone, welcome back to today's episode. We have Rikki from uh, is it PoormanRichmind, your page that you're running?
Yep, that's the one, mate.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And I think we're going to have a chat about a few things: investing, property, business. Um, so, what was it that kind of inspired you to kind of start your own page and kind of learn about investing your money and kind of spreading financial education content as well?
Uh, I think it, I think it starts at like working at a job that you don't really like and seeing if there's any other options out there that you can kind of start your own business. Um, and for me personally, there was a guy that I worked. Well, I didn't get to work with him. He was really lazy at his job, to be fair, and I wasn't allowed to work with him because of that. But eventually, I did get to work with him the odd 1 or 2 days, and then that's when I asked him. What did I say? I said, like, I know I'm not allowed to work with you because you corrupt apprentices, um, which he did, to be fair. And then I asked him, like, what does he do outside of work? Like, why don't he take his job seriously? And he said, basically, I earn more money outside of work than I do here. So if I was to lose my job, it wouldn't be like, it's not paycheck to paycheck kind of thing. So I kept like asking him questions, probing him, and he was like, "Look, I'll give you like one book to read." He goes, "I've only told like 3 or 4 people, and you could probably guess what book this is going to be." And it was Poor Dad Rich Dad. Yeah, Poor Dad Rich Dad, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Sorry. And I went away and I read this book within 2 weeks, and I'm not the biggest reader. I hate reading, to be honest, but I just kept finding myself wanting to read more and more of this book. So after I read that, I went back to him, like spoke to him, said, "Yeah, this book's opened up my eyes," and I said, "Like, I want to learn of like what you do, what like how can I become like you, like get into property outside of works kind of thing." So one day he took me to the pub after work, and my aim straight away was to keep him in that pub for as long as possible, literally. And we was in there for 6 hours, and it started with the basics of. He started out with like he wrote a timeline of age like 25 to 35, 35 to 45, and like he'd done it in 4 quarters. And I was like 23 at the time, and he was like, "So basically, you ain't even started your journey yet." He's like, "You got plenty of time on your side, and that's probably the best asset we all have, really, if we're starting young." So he explained like 25 to 35 is like it's going to be the hardest time to make even just 100K, say, because you're starting out, you're new, you got to build a reputation, build knowledge, and then he said after that it's kind of just like a pattern that you rinse and repeat. So yeah, got into that, learnt about money. He told me he like literally pulled out a £10 note and he put it next to a bit of paper and he was like, "Can you tell me the difference?" And I was like, "Well, that buys you things and that doesn't." He's like, "Yeah, but like literally, like, is there a difference between in the value of them?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's £10." He's like, "Nah, it's like this is literally the equivalent to the bit of paper that I'm holding now." Back then, I was like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" And then I went and done my research about money, how it's created out of thin air, don't really exist, it's worthless, and it constantly loses its value really, and lowers purchasing power. And then yeah,
Mm.
got talking about property, what he done, how he got it, and then I went away and I think I put down 4 grand on my first property course. I paid for a few little ones, basic ones, but they were nothing like this is like a serious investment towards myself now. And I thought if I do this, I'm going to make it work. So yeah, I put 4 grand into a property course, and then I done the course and I went into like property sourcing. But yeah, originally it was this whole page started from basically I think talking to people about money, and they weren't really like engaging with me, like with the people that I know, and it was like not really not, like no one really cares about money. Like they're all moaning about the jobs they go into, but they're happy not to study the subject of money, which it baffles me really because people are willing to spend most of their lives at a job solely because of money, but they don't actually care about the subject of money. And yeah, I think
Mm.
that's where my journey started, to be honest.
Yeah. Why do you think is it kind of like a societal trap that people go into a job and then maybe they're comfortable that they think it's a safe place to be because it keeps paying the bills. But in reality, like if you only have one source of income, you could be made redundant at any point. If the company starts performing badly, you could fall ill and be unable to work. So what what is a kind of it's kind of a trap, isn't it, that people get pushed into, and that they don't learn about money, which is, like you said, why started my page as well, to kind of talk about there's other ways to kind of diversify your income,
Yeah,
and build wealth outside of a job, right? It's not. I think it's maybe a misconception, right, in society.
yeah, I agree. I think I think it's very easy to go into a job, get paid, and then I think a lot of people get complacent and they realise they can still get paid, if that makes sense. Kind of like if you see a professional football player, he'll be on 100k, he'll score a load of goals and then demand a pay rise. He'll be good again for a little bit, and then he gets complacent. And then I think that's what happens with a job. If you go to your job, you start getting a bit complacent, you start relaxing a little bit, and you still realise you're getting that money. But that money is like it's the lowest of the low, really. I'm not saying like minimum wage. I'm like everyone has got so much potential to do something different or get two sources of income or go and do a job that they actually truly love that has no cap on money whatsoever. And I think that is the trap at the end of the day. And it's kind of like it's short term living, really. You're going to work from 9 to 5 and then you clock out and then that's you done for the day and you can do what you want. And 9 times out of 10, most people go home and they probably just stick on the TV or watch a movie and they literally live for the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about how have you found kind of trying to start out in property sourcing, and how's that experience been? Like, has it been successful, and what kind of challenges have you faced?
So when I done the property course, if you had no money, property sourcing was the way forward. It was like you need very little money to start, and basically what you are is the middleman between an investor and the seller. So let's just say, for example, someone got made redundant. They need to sell their house quickly because they can't afford to live there, and you've got an investor that has no time on his hands. But you're that person that will bring these two people together, basically, and you get a finder's fee. So after the course, I was like, this is it. This is my route to become a millionaire. I'm going to smash this. Average like finder's fees 3k a week. So set up my own business, got all the policies up, and then for about 6 months, I struggled like hell trying to get my first deal over the line. And it was literally only through word of mouth. It weren't through nothing like marketing what I'd done. And it was a woman that basically she just wanted to downsize, and it was through like a family friend. And I knew the people on the back of where she lived. They were into buying property. So I said to her, I said, look, I can get you like a good deal for this, and then I'll source you your next property as well. So literally, kind of because that was all in the area. It weren't an official proper way of property sourcing where I find an investor wherever. I kind of knew these guys previously that buy property, and I bring them two together, and that was my first deal. And after that, again, it was like another year or so for another deal, and then that's when I realised I think I'm gonna like pack this in like that. This is a full-time job, and I think you do need a bit of capital to do it because you need to market yourself well. But the
Mm,
idea is
yeah.
basically an investor that has no time. You get their report of what they want, where kind of what location they want to buy in, and you're basically saving them time and just bringing them deals. And if it suits them, then they pay you a finder's fee for it.
Yeah, did you think, or do you think real estate could be like something you'd be interested in getting more and more into? Like you said, was it more of a side hustle that you thought, or is it something you think that could kind of replace your full-time income in the future?
At first, I thought it was a side hustle, and then I realised how full time you'd have to be into it to make it a successful business. But overall, in general, I think property is number one. I was saying this to someone the other day. Like if you gave me £1 million and said you can only spend this on one specific investment, it would be property. Um, Many reasons. One, it cash flows from day one. I invest in stocks and crypto, but none of them cash flow me from day one. Granted, you can get dividends, but nothing pays like property. Like for example, if you have 50K and you put a deposit onto a house, straight away you've leveraged your money up to 4 times. So you only have to put a 25% deposit down on a house or a buy to let. So straight away you're expanding your capital, and then as soon as you've got a tenant in there, you're cash flowing from day one. Um, which I don't think personally, I don't know any other investment vehicle that could do that. Secondly, after like between 10 and 12 years, the properties normally like double in like house prices. So not only have you got a cash flowing asset, you've got an appreciating asset at the same time, which is like it's a double bonus basically. And yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, but what if a recession happens or house prices drop?" But just like a stock, if the stock drops, you don't sell, do you? You ride it out, kind of thing, and you kind of, I suppose, you dollar cost average. But with a recession, you're not in. Personally, if I was to get into property, I'm not getting into property to sell it later on in life. I'm there for the cash flow because I want money in my pocket today. So when a recession comes, rents don't go down. Yeah, possibly you have a tenant that you might have to replace, but that rent will remain the same throughout, and if not go higher and hedge against inflation. So for me, that is why property is number one.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. And what do you think? A lot of people are kind of anticipating a bit of a crash in the UK, because the property prices are so high right now and interest rates are so high as well.
Yeah,
Kind of how do you see the market right now? Because I mean, I don't know how anyone. I mean, unless you're paying with cash, like which not many people have, especially younger people. Like I don't see how many young people are meant to get onto the housing ladder right now, right? So it's kind of like I think a lot of investors with big amounts of money will be the ones snapping up the deals at the moment.
yeah. So
Um, yeah,
even for like a residential house, like to own a house yourself now, which you only need a 10% deposit, in some cases a 5% deposit. That's becoming like extremely rare. Like you said, like it's very hard to get on the property ladder. And it's times like this where recessions do pop up. They're basic. A recession is basically a sale. So you'll have big investors that are ready, that have got cash on hand. So when the market does go boom, you'll see it. You'll see a lot of people buy up quickly, and that's when you get competitive sellers or motivated sellers. So let's just say I put my house up for 100 grand because I can't afford it, but also the guy next door to me has lost his job, sorry, and he'll put his house up for 95. So he'll get his house sold quicker. That'll force me to bring my price down. And then this is when investors come in and cash in. And this is when like the average person, once you've got a pot of cash or a good deposit, this is the time to strike. And unfortunately, it comes every like 10 years. But there's a massive window of opportunity in recessions. But yeah, going forward, as you said,
mm,
like for young investors or young people trying to get on the property ladder, I think it's essential to try and get on there as soon as possible. And if that's either like teaming up with someone just to get your first property under your belt, then so be it.
mm, yeah, yeah. Um, Especially with interest rates right now, I think the danger is that people who can't keep up with their payments, if they're, I think that's what triggered right the last recession, is people houses repossessed means that houses are flogged for cheaper. And then as more and more houses come onto the market, obviously the more supply, then the price will inevitably kind of drop, right? So, um, are you looking to like make any deals kind of in the next few years? Like, or 'cause you said you spoke about property sourcing it. Is it something you want to kind of invest into your own property as well?
So for property sourcing, I think if anyone is looking to get into property right now and you've got nowhere to begin, property sourcing right now would probably be the best situation because you have got people, not right now, but like within the coming months, anyone that's selling a property is gonna want to get rid of it fast, and that is when a property sourcer can step up and be like, okay, cool, I've got investors ready to buy, And if you're in like that much of a rush to get rid of your property like today, I can make that happen. So that's one way a property sourcer could get involved today. Um, and yeah, personally, for like as you said, interest rates, I felt that like I've only owned my house for 2 years, and in November when the interest rates were getting like shooting up day by day, I've never been so scared in my life, and I can tell you now, I never want to feel like that again. So yeah, you definitely have to be prepared for the worst, and yeah, literally, when you like, as your page advises, always have an emergency fund, and even just a backup plan in general. To be honest, like I remember, it was literally November. I spoke to a couple mortgage brokers, and I was like, "Look, my mortgage runs out in August, which could be the peak of the recession." I said, "I don't want to get hit with a high interest rate." I said, "Can I pay the redemption fee now to come out to get a lower interest rate than what it would be in the future?" So I was more than willing to pay that. That was like a £3 grand redemption fee, and then I think my mortgage rate now is 3.6%, and I got offered a 4.13. Literally the next day, my mortgage broker come back to me and said they pulled that off the shelves. The best we can give you is a 5.26. And I was like, this is like just, I'm not prepared for this. So I said, yeah, do it, like lock it in. And then again, the Monday morning comes, she goes, yeah, they pulled that. 7.1 is the best. And I was like, yeah, might as well just think about selling my house today. And then I spoke to like a few people in property, and I was like, look, just hold out till like Jan, Feb, um, and see what the prices are saying then. And fortunately enough for me, it's come right back down to like 4.2, which is pretty good considering the market that we're in. But yeah, anyone that is getting into property, I would just be careful of like the market basically, and if a recession does occur, that you can get stung and lose your property.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and obviously, you mentioned a bit about Rich Dad Poor Dad and kind of
Yeah.
the focus that and the mindset shift between kind of investing your money into assets over liabilities, especially in like times like we're in now with kind of a cost of living crisis and people really struggling. Um, what's the importance of starting to invest for your kind of future financial independence? And how would you what are some of the things that can help people who are kind of new to investing in terms of what they need to know?
So for like the biggest thing is keeping your money in a bank is like it's the worst thing I think ever. Um, Literally the way I try to explain it to people is if because it's very deceiving banks. Like you can look at your bank account, and if you've got £100 in 10 years, it will still be £100. And as we know, purchasing power drops because of currency debasement. But like another way to look at it is if products stayed the same price for the rest of your life, that number in your bank account would drop because obviously purchasing power. Now I know it's hard to like get your head around, but I know for a fact if people saw that their money in the bank account was actually going down, they would be like, okay, now it's time to pull the plug on the bank and put that into something that's going to hedge against it or beat the inflation rates. And yeah, from day one, I think everyone should look into a basic stock and share ISA account. That is probably the easiest thing anyone can get into. Once you've got your emergency fund, your sinking funds in place, and like a couple months bills paid for, any money on top of that should be going into an S&P 500 or FTSE 100. And literally, you don't need to be a genius to like get into these sort of things. And it probably takes 1 or 2 hours a month of your time just to see what's going on. And yeah, and that is probably where you should leave all your money, to be honest. If you have no basic concept of investing, that is the easiest route. And
Mm.
literally, like you said, like
Yeah, I think.
yeah, go on.
No, go on.
Just going to bring like bring on to the fact of rich dad poor dad. Um, he literally installs that you need to make your money work for you, and every pound or every dollar you have, it should be seen as an employee for you and making you money, not losing you money. So yeah, that's the biggest takeaway from that book, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing eye opener, the book, because a lot of people, like when I speak to them about investing, they say, "Oh, it's too risky," or they're too scared. But like you said, it's the money in the bank it seems like safe because the money is not going down, like and it's there. You can see it, like it's
Yeah,
not changing and fluctuating in value. But in reality, the inflation is probably a lot higher than we even realize with CPI, the way they measure it. So
yeah,
your money in your bank is losing value like so quickly at the moment, especially in the UK. Like we have over 10% inflation, and some things like fuel prices, food prices, asset prices are just going up, 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 up. Like
yeah,
I think it's the mindset of understanding that your money isn't actually safe being saved in the bank account. Um, and even things like stocks, it can be quite easy to if you want to just invest in an index fund, it's super easy to set up.
yeah,
Um, but obviously, when you become like depending on your investment strategy and how much risk you want to take. Like if you want to get into individual stocks, obviously it takes a bit more research and
yeah.
time. So I think people would have to understand the risks behind that. But would you say you are you more into index funds, or do you invest in individual stocks as well?
When I first got into investing, I was one of those people that jumped on FOMO, like fear of missing out. So I'd follow a few Facebook groups and a few Instagram pages, and I'd be that guy who would jump on like Dogecoin or HCMC, if some of you have heard of it. Um, and I've made some like huge mistakes that, yeah, were expensive lessons, but they were lessons learned. And then from then, I think it's when I made them mistakes, that's when I really started to like go back to basics and think of like, right, what works, what's been used for the last 80 years, say, and let's just stick with that. So going forward now, like an S&P 500, I'm into like a technology one at the moment. That's where all of my funds go to that one. That's what I stick with, and then I'll invest in individual stocks, but well-known individual stocks such as Tesla, Microsoft, yeah, Google, just the basics, nothing too complicated.
Yeah, and I think it's same with me. When I made the same mistakes as a new investor. I was trying to chase like high returns because I thought um, it would be easy to kind of outperform the market. But you once you go into a bear market, like we've seen in like 2022, um, a lot of the hype stocks, like growth stocks or those kind of FOMO investments, like the altcoins in crypto especially, just got
Yeah,
absolutely destroyed. So
yeah,
I think as a new investor, you have to be aware of like if something seems too good to be true in terms of returns, there is probably obviously the higher the returns, the higher the risk. I think
yeah,
um, and avoiding those mistakes is important, but also making the mistakes yourself is kind of a learning process.
100%.
Because obviously we now know that like we're not going to do that again, hopefully, because we're going to kind of stick to maybe investments that are a bit more safer.
Yeah.
Because we've learned that to change our strategy slightly. So what what kind of the few things people can do to manage risk in terms of like diversifying as well?
Um, I think yeah, invest in well, basically the S&P 500 is like the top 500 companies in the US. So that's one way of diversing your stock portfolio straight away. Although it is one pot of like money you're putting in, it is diverse by the top 500 companies. So that's one way you could say you're diversifying. Um, And yeah, if you are to diverse into individual stocks, I think what I personally do is I test the waters. So I'll put 10% of what I wanted to put into that stock, and I'll probably monitor it for 1 or 2 months. And then if it's going well, I'll keep adding to it. But yeah, if not, then you've only lost a little bit of what you was going to put in, rather than just putting a lump of money in. Um, and yeah, if you are someone that has got a lot of money, I'd definitely look into property as well, or just there's loads of things. Gold, crypto is it's a bit risky. I think that is for more like of the younger generation. Like if you've got time on your hands, that could take you to like a really nice um, financial reward at the end of it. Let's say, um, but yeah, just I think test the waters a little bit. Don't always like put all your money in. Do your own research as well. That's a huge thing. Don't just go off the first person that you've said that said, "Oh, I've done this and it's worked out well for me," because maybe they had a lucky run, or maybe they're selling it, because you do get a lot of people out there that are trying to sell their brokerage firm or their commission on whatever they're selling. So yeah, just yeah, be careful.
Mm, yeah, and I think um like during that crazy bull run in like 2021 and like late 2020, there was a lot of like YouTube videos, for example, where they were promising, "Oh, invest in this stock for a 200, 300, 400x your money," and
Yeah,
because it was getting so many views, because people were all chasing the hype, and valuations were just going higher and higher and higher. So I think as a new investor, there's a few things that kind of will help your mindset. For example, like checking stock prices every single, like multiple times a day is
yeah,
quite dangerous, because you're almost investing with your emotions. Then when you see the stock going down, you start to panic.
yeah,
And when you see the stock going up, you maybe sell out too early as well. So like you said, kind of ease into your positions over a few months if you are really believing in that company. Um, because stock prices can really fluctuate. Same with kind of crypto as well. Like it can have like a daily movement of like 10%, 20% if it's an individual company. But
yeah,
um, as a long-term investor, that might not actually reflect what is going on inside the business, right? So I think understanding your emotions as well as an investor, and controlling like um, you're not getting carried away when you're investing your money,
yeah,
um, like you said. So I think especially as well, like in the UK, we have the stocks and shares ISA, which is a really really brilliant tool, um, which allows you to invest 20k every year,
yeah,
and not pay any taxes on that. Um, so there's quite a few ways in which you can start to get a return on your money without having to pay like high amounts of taxes. Like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, he kind of
yeah,
mentions how the tax rules are set in a way which they can be used, um, to, kind of to your benefit.
yeah,
Obviously, with a worked job, like a salary is taxed the highest amount versus
yeah.
other ways of making money. So, um, do you think that kind of as you start building wealth, there's ways you can kind of use the tax system to your advantage?
100%. I think that should be encouraged as well. Obviously, it won't be by government because that's their fund. But yeah, if you can, anything you can do to work for yourself. Even property. If you opened up a limited company, if you was to buy one rental property, for example, that could be a company. And then, as Robert Kiyosaki mentions, if you own your own business, you pay tax last and you pay yourself first. Where as for the standard 9 to 5 worker, you're paying tax. You don't get a say really. That tax is coming out before you even see it. So yeah, working for yourself and opening your own business is crucial, because obviously you can write off a lot of taxes for expenses, which is like which is one of the biggest secrets I think in business.
Mm. Yeah. What do you think about kind of starting your own business? Do you think it's something a lot of people would like to work for themselves, but maybe see don't want to take the risk? Um, is it something like you'd like to? Would you like to kind of be a business owner rather than working for somebody else? I think for me, like would even like prefer to earn less money but have the freedom to not be managed by a boss and work for a company where maybe I'm not getting opportunities to move up. Whereas if I work for myself, I'd be more encouraged to kind of scale my own business. Do you think more people could maybe even start as a side hustle and then progress it into their own business, if they had kind of a bit more encouragement or kind of risk tolerance to get started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for people not starting, I think generally, or speaking from my personal experience, is fear of failure. Um, so I think when I done my apprenticeship, I couldn't do overtime because I was an apprentice. So I used to go to the gym quite a bit. So I went and done like my personal training course, got like my certificate, and then I made my own boot camp. And it took me like a good year or two before I done that because I thought, what if no one shows up? Blah blah blah. And literally during summer, it was actually quite good. And then as soon as winter hit and the rain come out and it was cold and it was dark, literally I got like zero people turning up. So I literally called it a day. But yeah, that initial like, oh, what if I'm not good at it, or what if I fail? I think one of the biggest ones is judgment from other people. That's like, especially me, like when I started like property sourcing or even my Instagram page, I was thinking, oh my god, what if all these people that are like high levels up on what I'm doing, like property experts or Instagram pages that are like are miles higher than me, like millions of followers. What if these guys are judging me or like start commenting on my stuff and saying how it's wrong? That was my biggest fear. And then I kind of realized like these people ain't even looking at me. Like I'm here to educate people of what I know, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just giving my experience of my journey. Um, and I think that is the biggest fear of failure and not like putting your all into it. And I think consistency as well. I know like loads of people or quite a few people that have started their own fitness page or plumbing page, even if it's just for their daily job, and then they quit after like 6 months. And it's like, mate, if you just carried on for another 6 months or a year, it could have really taken off. And it don't always take off. Like, don't get me wrong, but there is no risk in trying. Like, what else are you going to achieve if you stop? You're just going to quit and go back to something that you didn't like doing in the first place. And I think, like you
Mm.
said, if you are looking to start your own business, I think it should be something that you're passionate in and you generally like talking about for free to begin with. I think that's the best. If you love cars or sports cars or kitting up cars, just start a page of what you've done to your car and or what you're looking at doing, and just start with that and just talk to people that are like minded, and you'll get engagement and you'll realize that there is an audience out there for you. And I think yeah, that's where you should start, and then just build a solid foundation, and then see where you can take it step by step after that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I had a lot of the fears about starting my platform of like what people would think or judge, maybe especially with something like money or investing in finance. It's like you think maybe people will feel like you're trying to show off or you shouldn't talk about, your financial situation, things
Yeah,
like that. But actually now, like I think by creating financial education content, hopefully I've been able to help a lot of people because of how big like my platform has got. Like I
yeah,
always started it with the intention of helping and helping to educate people.
yeah,
So especially even things like putting my face on the platform as well as like, what if you always think of the worst situation possible of like what people might think or might react, but actually like it's been fine. Like like
yeah,
very very rarely get like sometimes you get negative comments if a post goes really viral, but in general, like most people are supportive and
yeah,
don't care. Like they're not going to judge you um,
exactly.
if you've got like a positive message. So, how have you found kind of starting your own page and what's your plans for your platform?
I'll be honest, like starting out, it was tough because literally the first week or two, I was constantly looking like, why am I not getting followers? I'm putting out good content here. Like it take me ages. Even now, I take ages to write posts, but I want it to come from like a personal experience. And yeah, I was like, I was adamant on not following anyone else because I thought, nah, like this is good information. If it's good enough, people will come to me. It was quite in an ignorant way. Um, and then I kind of started to like learn the game a bit. I started to engage more. I started to message people, and then yeah, it slowly started to pick up. And then obviously, once it picks up a little bit more, you get a couple of hundred followers. You think, all right, how can I build this page even more organically? And you start using the hashtags and stuff like that, engaging with other finance pages. Anyone that like comments, I'll reply to them like as soon as possible. And generally, I've met some really nice people from my page, to be honest, and I've learned a lot from other people as well that are actually doing business or like in that sector. And yeah, as of where I'm going with the page, I don't really know. The idea was to get to 500 followers and start YouTube, but I realized how hard it was just to manage an Instagram page and get good content out of that. So I think YouTube it's a whole different ball game, and you have to come with some real good creativity. Um, but yeah,
Mm,
mainly I think for me, it's just to express myself and how I see money. And I just loved the subject of money in general. I could talk about it for hours. Like, as I said earlier, like 95% of people go to a job that they don't like, and their sole purpose of going to that job is for money. Most people hate their job because they're not doing something that they actually enjoy. So it was like, why not get clued up on this as much as possible and see if I can like make it work for me and use it to my advantage. And if I can help anyone along the way or open someone's eyes just a little bit as to like you could be in a much better position if you started this at like right now, then yeah, why not? So at the moment it's just free content and engaging with people and maybe bumping into someone that maybe could help me one day, maybe with like raising finance or something. And it's my way of showing that this is what I've been doing for the last year, 2 years. I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'd like someone to think, like, believe in me and give me a chance, and let's see what we could do together in a project or something.
mm. Yeah, I mean, creating content is a great tool to kind of meet people, network, but also like to keep learning yourself about different things because you get
Yeah,
to engage with and like see what other creators are doing and what content they're creating, and then you can kind of learn from each other, which I think for me, like the finance space has been like really supportive, like in terms of kind of working with other pages, and pushing each other's content, things like that. And I, I think, like you said, like one of the biggest things is consistency as well, because like you said, there's a lot of people who start something looking for instant result. But like I had the exact same experience of when I started, like I was just desperate like to get those followers in, but then I realized that this is a long game, and
yeah,
um, Instagram is going to push the people who have stuck with it for a long time, because their algorithm is going to favor them more if they know that they're consistent with it, and they're committed to like whether it's a daily post or 6 7 times or 6 days a week. Um, so I think for me, like I think it took over 1 year to start seeing big results.
yeah,
But now I've got to the point where like I've got the knowledge if I was going to start again. Um, but yeah, I think for me it's been a really, really amazing experience to like yeah, get to speak to other investors, and so I think it's a great thing to do. And hopefully can be ways of monetizing it as well in future, whether it's like a brand partnerships or um, investment platforms
yeah,
that want to get in front of people who are interested in investing, because at the end of the day we have people who are following us specifically for financial content,
yeah,
which is sort of the good thing about this type of media, is that you already know where the interest lies from the people who follow you, because
yeah,
they've followed you because of a post you've done which they maybe relate to or they found valuable. So I think
exactly.
the future of financial education will all be online, and it will all be a lot of it will be through social media, right?
Yeah,
That's how I see kind of the potential in it, in the long run as well.
yeah. I fully agree with that, to be honest. And yeah, it's a good way for people to not wake up, but just open their eyes a bit to how much finance can change your life if you actually just pay even a fraction of attention to it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's some, even like there's basic things which a lot of people um maybe don't have it- the education to start with. And I think a part of it is down to the lack of it, kind of money conversations in school as well.
Yeah.
And and I think that we could be doing a lot better with even just the basics of how to manage like a credit card, how to create a budget, um, things like that. So I don't know why do you think that there is just a lack of kind of financial education in the UK, for example?
I think it's done on purpose, to be honest, from the higher ups. I'm not a conspiracist or anything, but generally, if you can if you can lead a lot of people to something that's going to benefit you or a small group of you in the long run, then why not? Um, if they did teach that kind of stuff in school, it would literally teach people to think the same. Hence, why the school system stayed the same for hundreds of years. Um, like, to me, it's baffling because you're teaching kids a specific subject. Like, don't get me wrong, maths, science, and English is I think, yeah, they're the fundamentals. But when you're literally teaching kids that are doing history, geography, all these kinds of specific subjects, and they don't even know what they want to do yet. Like, why are you teaching them such a specific subject when you could be, like you said, teaching them something that's uh, real life and helpful? Credit cards, taxes, and yeah, I think it's done on purpose, and that's why most people end up going to uni. Um, I think like if you're in the wrong, not the wrong crowd, but if the majority of your crowd at school are going to uni and you don't know where you want to go in life, 9 times out of 10 you're going to probably jump onto uni as well, which I think is it's good if you need a degree for a specific job. But if you're going to uni for like a, I don't know, like a vague subject such as business or economics or something that you could learn outside of it, then why not? Like, you're paying all that money to learn something that you could learn for free and probably learn better from your own experiences. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, school's a funny subject. Like, very rarely will you get a school, or and maybe this is different in private schools. I don't know because you're paying money then, but you're taught to be an employee rather than employer, and you're getting taught by people on special subjects that probably haven't actually dealt with that subject properly. Like, how can you have a business teacher teaching you about business that's never run a business? I'm not saying none of them have, but that could be the case in some schools, which I think is dangerous.
mm. Do you think it's like part of keeping the consumers in society, and the employees kind of that aren't gonna? So I think if, like you said, if too many people were thinking the same way, you would have too many people that were their own boss, and maybe not kind of in the system paying taxes and things like that. Do you think maybe that's the one of the reasons why as well? Like you said with uni, like a lot of people get pushed into uni, um, but they have no idea what their interests are. I think
Yeah,
that maybe sometimes just trying something first and then following, like whether it's just trying to start something of your own, um, even if it doesn't work out at the start, like it's always worth giving it a go, especially when at a young age, before you kind of commit to like getting into student debt, um, and kind of spending those years at uni as well, when you don't even know what it is that you're going to do at the end of it.
yeah.
So
I know quite a few people, to be honest, that have done university, and I think either when they, as soon as they come out, they don't want to do what they've studied, or they'll do what they've studied for a year and then drop out and do something completely different. And it's like, that is mental to me. Like, if you put that money, not that you have that money in a lump sum really, but if you did put that money into a stock and shares, a basic stock and shares, or a deposit to a house, your life could be changed just like that. And yeah, it's nuts. I think, yeah, like you said, don't rush into things. I think the best way to learn, personally, would be either you do it yourself and try it, or you speak to people that are doing it. Like, find a community that is willing to help. And there are really nice communities out there with like people that are willing to share tips and tricks for free that you don't have to pay for, and you can like either go and shadow them for a week, or yeah, just something along them lines. Like, yeah, don't always throw yourself in there straight into the deep end, like, and sign up to a 4-year uni course for the sake of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think I agree with I agree with everything there. So, um, we've gone for 45 minutes. Do you think we should cover anything else?
Um, I think we've like covered a bit of everything, to be fair, which is good. Just yeah, just I think stick to the basics, and yeah, test the waters with anything that you do really, and yeah, diversify. Look into every kind of investment strategy possible out there. Pick which one resonates with you, or what you think you might be good at. Because you can make money in anything. Just buying and selling, or selling a service. People will pay for it if it's good enough. And yeah, try and work for
Mm,
yourself if you can. I think that's the main thing. And if you've got a hobby out there and you are scared to start doing something, just start a
mm.
page. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to speak. You don't have to talk. You just have to share what you're doing and see what kind of engagement you get.
Yeah, yeah. I think, like we said, there's a lot of different types of income and ways of making money. Like I did a post the other day about the income, seven types of income.
I see that.
And I think it's been one of my top posts ever. I think in 3 days it's reached over 1 million people. Um, and hopefully, like, because the purpose was to show that earned income is the most common income from a job, from a salary. Um, but like we said, relying on one, especially one that's taxed so highly, and is kind of it seems safe, but it's not. There's nothing 100% safe about a salary because your employer could always make you redundant, like we said. So I
Yeah,
think learning about the different types of income and the different ways of making money, it will really like open your mind to kind of the finance and investing world as well. So
yeah,
yeah, 100%. Educating yourself about money is super important. So yeah, hopefully we've helped a few people with this podcast about yes, kind of our experiences as well.
I hope so, mate.
Yeah, great. So where can people find out about your content?
Literally, all I have going on at the moment is the Instagram page, which is PoormanRichmind, or Poorman.Richmind. Yeah, where I literally talk about not individual stocks, but investing in ISAs and stocks and shares and what it can do for you. Compound interest, which is a wonderful thing, and property, and kind of like mindset. I think if you've got the right mindset and you're willing to give stuff a go, and not be scared of failure, I think you can go places. So that's kind of what my page covers.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for coming on today, and yeah, hopefully this was helpful for everyone. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for having me.